Hi there, and welcome to the Neckpour. My name is Lewis, and welcome to the Whisky Review channel, where I give you my thoughts and opinions on a particular bottle of whisky from the Neckpour all the way down to the dregs. Join me here today to answer the age-old question, can we take a very average bargain basement bottle of whisky and make it into something a bit more special? So this is actually the third part now of a kind of little mini series I've done on making a whisky infusion with a bottle of Bankhall Single Malt whiskey, which is just in here. It's been about 6 weeks, I think, since the last video that I did on this, and this has just been sat with a new infusion. So we're going to give it a little taste today, see how it's getting on. I think this will probably be where we'll leave it. So yeah, let's see what this is all about. But before we really get into this, I would just like to ask, if you enjoy the video, please drop me a like below. Drop me a comment if you've got any thoughts and opinions at all on this infusion, on the bottle of whiskey, or there's anything you'd like to see me review. And please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified next time I post. So yeah, as I say, this has been about 6 weeks since the last time I had a little look and a little taste of this. In that time we have moved house as well. And yeah, let's see what this is all about. Let's get it open. Let's give it a little smell. Smelling really spiced and quite good actually. And now we'll pour ourselves a little drop of this out. You can see it's a little bit cloudy from the particles that are in there, the oils and stuff. But yeah, it looks pretty good. And I have brought some water as well, just to see if it needs it, although it's not super high percentage wise, because we have gained a little bit of liquid from the fruits, etc., that are in there. And yeah, if you want to, before I get into tasting this, you want to see what I've done so far, if you have a little look up there, I'll drop a link to the playlist of my first neck pour of the bottle, and then my initial infusion and the kind of second infusion that I've done, which has got us to this stage. But yeah, having a look at it, it's still fairly thin, to be honest. It's not, I thought it might get a bit more sticky just because of all the additional sugars that have been added to it. But giving it a smell, it's really interesting. It smells really chocolatey, which is not something that's gone in there, and quite nutty almost. Whereas what's in there at the moment is apples, pears, apricots, cinnamon, vanilla, raisins, things like that. So there's nothing that's kind of giving it those smells particularly. But it does smell pretty good. Let's give it a little taste and see what we think. Oh, that's really interesting. It's not quite as sweet as I thought it might be. And in a sense, the alcohol is almost a little bit more pronounced. There's a little bit more heat to it. But there's also a really nice, warming, spicy note from the cinnamon that's in there. And yeah, overall, I'd say that's kind of been a bit of a success. This is a bit of a proof of concept for me. I was thinking about trying to do this on a slightly larger scale and possibly mixing a couple of whiskies in. But no, that's really quite good. I'm glad I took the citrus peel out after the last tasting, because it was really aggressively citrusy, whereas that's mellowed down quite nicely. There's still just a little hint of it there. And it does give an interesting kind of body to the spirit, quite liqueur-like, and quite surprisingly very different to whiskey. It tastes almost like a kind of fruit brandy or something like that is more the kind of flavors that I'm getting out of this. But no, that's, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. That being said, it was pretty reasonably good whiskey when it went in there. I do think the one thing that would really add to this is putting something in there, probably a blended whiskey, just for the value side of things, but something in there with a little bit of peat to begin with. I just think that's just going to give an extra layer of flavours throughout the whole thing. But no, I'll certainly be looking to come back from this. We're currently in August, and I think giving myself a couple of months to try and get something ready for Christmas, with the idea of possibly maybe giving it out as a couple of gifts, something like that. And I will later on get this all strained out. I'll put it through a coffee filter, I think, just to try and remove as much particulate as possible, and hopefully have a little look around, see if we've got any nice smaller bottles at all that I can bottle this up in to put away. Because yeah, there's about half a bottle's worth of whiskey in there, something like that. There's about 370, 380 mil, something like that. And I will measure it because I knew the original amount going in, less these couple of samples. So I'll have a pretty good idea of what my kind of final ABV is as well. So it'll be interesting to see that. But no, I'm fairly pleasantly surprised by that. And yeah, I think this is just a reminder. You've bought it, you've paid for it, do what you want, play around with your whiskey if you wish to. Because is it necessarily better than the spirit when it first went in there? Not sure. I do still have a last little bit left. I've probably got another couple of measures of the whiskey before I get onto filming the dregs of it for you guys. And I might have to do a little head-to-head tasting of the two together and try and see whether this is actually better than the whiskey originally was or not quite as good. But no, I'm pretty happy with what I've made there, and it certainly proved the concept that I wanted to aim at. And I think adding a bit of peat in there is certainly going to take it to the next level. But yeah, just a quick one today, just to show the tasting of this. There's no point me going too in depth about it, because you guys can watch what I did in the playlist if you want to recreate it word for word. But don't feel like you need to. Just play around, putting things you like, putting things you enjoy, and see where you get to. But yeah, I'd certainly say, if you've got an idea like this, give it a go. What the worst that happens if you've bought something pretty cheap is you've wasted a tenner's worth of whiskey. It's not that much in the grand scheme of things, and you might end up with something you really enjoy. But yeah, before we go, I would just like to say, if you have enjoyed the video, please do hit the like button. If you've got any thoughts and opinions on this, leave me a comment. I'll be sure to get back to you. And if you've really enjoyed the video and want to see more, please do hit subscribe and the notification bell to be notified next time I post. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining me today for this episode. And I'd love to see you again for another episode of the Neckpour, the Dregs, or just my general thoughts and opinions on whiskey. But until the next time, I'd just like to say cheers, Mancha, and I'll see you again.